Okay, here we go. Starting off tonight, testing out my new theme that I'll be using for I Ride for Larry on Saturday, January 16th, 2021. But I'm also, this time, checking out why is it so hard to ride with Coco Cadence. So I'm going to come and check in, join in with Coco. These are the pace bots that run at different levels, A, B, C, and D. And I'm going to be choosing Coco Cadence. This is a moderate pace group ride with occasional hills. This also seems to me one of the hardest ones for me to stay with. And I want to look and see why that is. It isn't because it's really hard. It just seems like you're moving back and forth so much. Is it because Coco doesn't hold the pace? What is it? So, I'm going to log in and see what I can learn. Can I keep up with Coco? So let's log in, go for our ride, see what happens. You'll notice there's a funds raised that will appear on the screen as we're going through the ride. This is the funding for the I Ride for Larry, seeking to raise $2,500, and Saturday is my last day for that. Alright, here we go. We've caught up. Now automatically I'm out in front of Coco by 16 meters. So I need to really let up to come back. Alright, so there she is. And I'm going to try to get up without overtaking too much. Ah, Coco! So right now I'm having to work hard, well, relatively hard, to get back up there. Okay, so closing in 5 meters, 4, 3, 2, start easing up a little bit so that I don't overtake. What I try to do with Coco is the little badge, it's like a clock and an arrow above it. I try to let that continue to float in front of me. So if I find I'm gaining on it too much, I let up a little bit. So I'm kind of keep my eye on that little icon and try to focus on that. But even when you do that, the problem isn't so much falling off the back. The problem is you go shooting past Coco and then you lose the connection, which means that you don't gain your drops. So what does that mean, gain your drops? Well, if you look at the bar right above fundraised 2130, there is a C cadence and then a bar with a moving blue that is slowly progressing. To the far right of that, you see a times 1.0. What's happening is I am earning extra drops, and the drops is that large number you see above the time 1.0. So the more you stay with Coco, the more drops you earn, like a computer game. And with those drops, you can go and purchase new equipment. with those, I guess they're drops of sweat. What happens is, as the blue bar moves across, once you accomplish filling that bar, it will jump to 1.2 and so on till you get up to 2 times 2.0. Then it backs down, and that is the multiplication of how many drops you're receiving. So at 2.0, you're getting 2 drops for what would have been 1. So you're doubling for all intents and purposes. But you have to stay in contact with Coco cadence. You can't go too far in front, and you can't go too far behind, or you will lose contact. The bar will reset, and you have to start filling it up again. So the goal is to stay in contact with the pace bot until you can get up there to that double and then back down. So far I'm doing pretty well staying with Coco, but I do have some ideas as to why it's hard to stay with Coco. And I don't think it's because Coco is changing so much as it's the dynamics of the group. The B-level group, to me, is the easiest. Not because you're not pedaling as hard, but because it's very consistent and you can stay with your pace bot much easier. And one of the reasons that immediately jumps out to me as to why that is the case is because the B groups are never this large. So the drafting dynamics play a big role in this. So I can sit here, spin at a consistent wattage, and the group will actually pull me away from Coco cadence. So I actually have to work harder at not overtaking than I do getting dropped. It's easy not to get dropped. It's much harder not to go flying off the front. But by keeping my icon, whoops, see it's starting to go behind me, I need to slow up a little bit and adjust to keep that badge floating in front of me. Now what people want from the pacebot is for the pacebot to hold a particular pace so that you can settle in and just stay with that constant pace. And people will complain about Coco and say, well, Coco's switching things up and changing the pace. While in reality, the group is so large that you can see up there around the curve. See how far the group goes up? It would be very easy for me to get sucked up through this group into that faster front. So you actually have to work to bring your cadence and your power down so that you don't go shooting past Coco. I just did. I had even lowered my power and still went past Coco. It's because I was stuck in the draft. So that's my theory as to why it's hard to stay with Coco. It isn't that Coco is changing things up, it's that the dynamics of the ride change things up. And also, because the group is so large, if you look over right over my shoulder, you'll see the list of riders. Coco is 3 meters behind me, but Coco doesn't show up on the list. So it's very easy for me to lose track of where Coco is, and before you know it, I'm 10, 12 meters ahead. And you want to stay, I think it's between 5 and 7 meters. If you go outside of that, see now Coco's disappeared completely. I don't know how far back Coco is, so I really need to back off. Okay, 4 meters, 6 meters. I'm going back down 68 watts. Okay, there's Coco up there. Came around me. So now it's time to catch back up. So you can see that's why it's very easy, and very often I find myself way up at the front wondering if Coco has just completely stopped the ride, when in reality Coco is not very far behind me. I'm just not aware of where she is. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't blame Coco. You just got to learn how to ride within the pack if you're trying to get the drops. Now, if you're just trying to get a nice workout, who cares? Just go up with the group that's ahead of Coco, settle into a pace that you enjoy, and just do it. You don't have to be within range of Coco to get a good, solid, consistent workout. But if you're trying to get drops, you're going to need to work to stay in contact. Okay, now I'm having to pick up my pace. Now let's see what happens. I'm just going to hold it. 134, 115. Look at me. I'm going through the pace, through the group, without even trying. So I'm being sucked by the draft. So I've really got to back off in order to come back. So now there she is. Hey, got a ride on from Eric Min, the CEO of Zwift. And I've got, I guess it's now around 3,500,000, almost 3,600,000 drops. And frankly, I don't really care about drops. It's just makes a more interesting ride to try to stay with Coco. I'm not even working as hard as I would on a typical ride, but it just adds an element. You know, you do certain things over and over again. Coco can be fun because it turns it more into a game. And what is it going to take for me to stay within the proper distance of Coco? I've got to think. I can't just go out and put down a steady pace and stay there. But one thing is for certain, when you're in the group, you fly. Already at 8.5 kilometers, and I haven't even really thought about it. It's just makes it very easy for time and distance to go past. And people will say, well, yeah, well, that's cheating that you're in that group and being pulled at that speed. Well, that's true, but if I was in this large of a group in real life, we would be flying because the same principles are true the drafting would be there, and I could sit in the group and basically be pulled along at these similar speeds without having to put out too much wattage. So, am I very easily able to go out in real life and find a group this large? No. So in that way, yes, it is quote unquote cheating. But if I was able to find a group this large that rode at this pace, it would be very similar. But I would also add, this isn't my favorite thing to do. What I enjoy more are trying to get the badges, where you have the routes that you have to work through. I have a few more of those to go before I will have completed all of the badges for the routes. And that's more of a challenge to me. This doesn't make me go, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But going out there and doing the Uber pretzel to get the Uber pretzel badge, that makes me have second thoughts. But that's when I begin to really enjoy it. What I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to back off. I'm going to end this particular ride, come back in with the B race or B group and see how that goes. Yes, I haven't reached to 2.0, but you get the idea. So let's go and see what happens if we leave this particular event and come back in. So here we log out, we end our ride. I wish you could end the ride and go without having to go completely out. How would I rate my experience? It was fun. I definitely would join it again. I would be lying to say I wouldn't. So then let's go out. Put in our little name. Let's call it Keeping Up with Coco. So we're exiting from there, and then let's go immediately back into Zwift, and I'll show you how you go in and actually join one of those groups from the very beginning. Coming in, Zwift login. Login is successful. Now it's found everything. Let's turn on steering. I don't think it's going to make any difference because, oh, my companion app is kind of messed up here. So thankfully the Steerzo was found. So let's go with that. Okay. All right, so they're only in Watopia, so you have to go over and choose Watopia. Then you have your pace partners, and we just did Coco Cadence, and now we're going to come to B Brevet. Brevet. Is it Barry? I can't remember. Anyway, let's go find out how this goes. Good. We're going to ride with B. The steering says yes, we're here. And we have steering, and there he is, and immediately you see the difference that there aren't as many people participating in this ride. And that does help somewhat with maintaining the pace. Now, it's a little harder because he's going at a higher pace. So we got to go catch up with him. Come on, pace partner! Yeah, notice how much smaller the group is following the B ride. I've been in the B ride and saw the A group go past with like 2 or 3 people following the pace bike. So there's definitely a difference in the number of people participating. You can also notice that my wattage is consistently higher in this group than in Coco's group. Because, what is his name? Barry, I think. I'm going to call him Barry. Hey, Iron Dragon. The red dragon. That is a connection from Memphis. Okay, there he is. So we're settling in around 170 to 200 watts. Let's see how it works to get in 10 kilometers with Barry. Another difference between Coco and Barry is that Barry follows more hills. Tempus Fugit, which is where Coco is just as flat as it can be. But here with Barry, we head up into some of the sequoias, and there's a nice little climb involved in this one. So before we can reach that 10 kilometers, we're definitely going to end up going up that climb. So it will be coming. Now I do have my steering turned on, but I do not use steering when I'm in one of these groups, because as soon as you start using the steering, it kicks you out of the draft. And it can be a pain to get back in. So basically let Zwift put me where Zwift wants to put me, which typically keeps me in the draft. If I steer out of it, I can get back into the draft, but it's harder, and sometimes I just get bounced out and I don't even get into the draft till I'm at the very back. Oddly enough, it seems as though I'm moving up through the bars faster. Like Coco took a lot more for me to close that bar going across to get to the next level. Is that just my imagination? Or do you move up faster by going in one of these harder pace spots, with one of these harder pace spots? I'm actually now getting pulled ahead, so let's back off some. Yeah, I wonder if I might hit 2.0 before I get to 10 kilometers. If that's the case, then we know for certain well, it also makes sense. I'm at 43 kilometers per hour. Seems like when I was in Coco's group, it was more like 37 kilometers per hour. So I am covering more distance quicker, which would mean I would move that bar faster. That makes sense. Ooh, a little warm. I ride with a rather large television in front of me, and that's part of the reason why my face looks orange, because I'm seeing what you're seeing, which is that orange background template. So that's kind of reflecting off of my face. But one of the reasons why I use the larger television is I am nearsighted, and having the larger television helps me see even when I don't have my glasses on. Whew. Settled in nicely. See, I'm telling you, it's much easier to stay with this guy. I don't even have to really think about it. I don't have to worry about shooting past him. If anything, it's just concerned about getting dropped. But that's not really a concern, because I can pick up the wattage to catch up relatively easily. So, if you do Coco because you think that Coco is who you need to ride with because of your wattage that you think you can put out, you might want to consider trying Barry, the B one. Just get in and let the group pull you along, but it's more consistent. And you won't be as frustrated. Because every time I'm in the Coco group, I end up hearing people complaining about Coco, that Coco isn't holding a steady pace. So I would encourage you to try out the B. And yes, you have to put out more wattage, but it's not that different, and it's more steady, consistent. So you may find it more enjoyable. Besides, if you can't keep up, just go back to Coco. She'll accept you with open arms. Okay, 3 more kilometers. I thought we would be hitting the climb by this point, but maybe I joined the group shortly after the climb. I don't recall where that would be. (1.2) should be able to hit 1.4 before long, which is about where we were with Coco. There we go, 1.4. We definitely will not hit 2.0 in 10 kilometers. So distance-wise, it's the same. Point value is just you get there a little faster in the B group because you're putting out more power, and that only makes sense. Crosses my mind right now as I think about Larry. Larry's in the hospital. He said he had a big decision to make today. I don't know what that was, but I've been praying that he would have wisdom to make the right decision today. But it's very hard for him because of COVID. He can't have visitors. His family can't come and see him during this hard time. Of course, his immunity is very low because of all of the treatments he's going through for the tumor. So I certainly understand why they wouldn't want people there, but it doesn't take away from the challenge that Larry's facing, being separated from his family during a time when their encouragement would be really huge. So as I'm spinning along, I'm thinking about Larry and praying for him, that he would have strength. Not just physical strength, but emotional, mental, and spiritual strength during this trial that he's facing. Definitely makes keeping up with Coco something not important. Okay, now we're splitting off. We're heading up toward the sequoias. We're probably going to hit the beginning right at 10 kilometers. So there's some rolling hills up here that I'm guessing, well, we're actually going to be past 10 kilometers right now. So rather than closing off at this moment, let's go ahead and ride up through there. And see what happens. Ah, I see something I need to work on. Just got a chat come through, but it's not showing up on my screen. So, can I keep up, multitask? Okay. Chat, YouTube chat. It should be showing up. Pop over here. Everything should be okay. Always share the messages. Source. refresh cache current page. Done. I don't think it's because the chat background is covering it. No. Oh, I'm being dropped. Have to work on that when I'm not on. Ah! I got dropped. And that means I lost my drops. Ah! Oh well. Let's go ahead and catch up with him. There he is up in front of me. No problem. Heading for the green icon. Ooh. Yes, Michael, it was your chat message that got me dropped. So it's all your fault. And I would be rich with all my drops if you hadn't chatted. So I blame you completely. Well, they are staying up there. Whew. Hey Siri, turn on left crosswind. Pays to have a draft. Those guys are drafting and I'm by myself. Probably should just wait for the climb because the draft doesn't help them as much there. Okay, you can see my 30-day PR is 4 minutes and 26 seconds. That's on the edge of my comfort zone, but I can consistently put that one out there. Oh man, the number one is 426. Ah, that means I'm gonna find myself wanting to chase it. Oh boy. Not what I should do. Okay, settle in. Let those guys help me. And then maybe push it. Nah, if I stay here, I'm not going to get it. What do I do? Do I go for it? Or do I sit in? I want to go for it. So settle in. Just keep pushing at this rate. Don't go into deficit. There's a long way to go. half a kilometer. Come on. Come on. Keep going. Yes. I got it. Oh. There's the jersey. Wow. I got the jersey and a 30-day PR. Oh. As you can see, 426 is a little bit on the edge of my comfort zone. Sub 420 is a little beyond my comfort zone. That's the beautiful thing about Zwift. You find yourself pushing beyond what you think you can do, or at least you find yourself pushing to do more than you want to do. Now, had I seen that guy was 4 minutes even, or even 4 minutes 10, I would have said, no way, I'm not going for that, because I know my limits. But seeing that 426, when that was my 30-day, I just had to do it. Oh. All right. Well, you've seen Coco, you've seen Barry. Okay. Suddenly I'm seeing, I know what's wrong. Let's see what happens. I come back to the YouTube chat and I grab the bottom here, pull down. Look at that. That was the problem. I had the wrong part of the chat showing. I had the bottom showing, I mean the top showing. I should have had the bottom. So, it was a good thing to learn. I'm glad I did it. I'll make adjustments before the ride for Larry on Saturday. And thank you, Michael, for cheering me on. Thank you also for your ride for Mike. I'm sorry, I did it again. Your ride for Larry. That's going to happen on April 3rd. I'm looking forward to joining you on that gravel ride. 130 plus miles. So hopefully this 12-hour session on Saturday will put me in the direction of catching up with you. You've really been doing some good training. Keep it up, and that will make the ride more enjoyable when we get to do it. Okay, I'm going to keep riding, but I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Thank you all for watching. Keep it up. Get out there on Zwift. See if you can stay with Coco. If you can't, go find Barry and give him a try. So good night and thank you for joining us. Please go to idoitfor.org/LarryM and give toward the $2,500 goal that we're hoping to finish on Saturday. So we're very close. So help us get there. And thank you.